Ladies and gentlemen, day 3 of the Durham Probe Special Counsel. And hit subscribe. We have so much to talk about. To my super chat, I cannot do this without you, ladies and gentlemen. Your super chat support is greatly appreciated. If you want to talk about the Durham Probe Special Counsel, the fact that inflation is worse than expected, the fact oil prices are going up, the economy is in the tank, foreign policy is a catastrophe. But at least Trump isn't tweeting. That's the prevailing mentality among Democrats and the media. They would rather have an economy in free fall with the prospect of global annihilation than Trump actually presiding over an amazing economy, which is what we had in 2019, a record low in poverty. So hit record highs in household median income. So hit subscribe, ladies and gentlemen, to my super chat. Again, I cannot do this without you. And let's get started. By the way, right after this segment, I'll have a very important segment on the Stock Market Crash channel. So subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel and H.A. Goodman's other channel as well. And watch the shorts on here. Ladies and gentlemen, let's read this really quickly before we get to the fact that an FBI official is facing suspension. So Durham is dealing with a lot of things all at once. Very interesting. He has there's 5 counts, ladies and gentlemen, of lying. The Steel subsource lied. Or the Steel source, Danchenko, like Sussman, made very deceptive statements. All of these people conspired and worked to set up and frame Trump, and they did so utilizing a government bureaucracy that was willing to accept lies. Okay? So that's number one. It's very important to understand when you look at what Durham is doing is that he has to peel the layers of a bureaucracy and find intent. But see, the interesting thing is, or the obstacle he faces is that he has to simultaneously show that the Bureau was not only inept, but also duped. So they were at the same time inept and duped by a source for a Steele dossier that was literally purchased by Clinton and the Democratic Party. Durham has to prove that a lie took place and that the lie influenced the Federal Bureau of Investigation. He'll almost certainly be able to do that for at least one out of the 5 counts. A really interesting thing we'll read part of the transcripts, but really quickly, I want to read you this. And Durham brings in alleged Danchenko source as witness on trial's 3rd day. So here you have a Clinton public relations executive linked to Bill and Hillary. You cannot make this up. The United States government utilized a public relations executive. Durham brings in alleged Danchenko source as witness on trial's 3rd day. The government alleges that Charles Dolan, a public relations executive, was a primary source of information that analyst Igor Danchenko contributed to the Steele dossier. Now, here's the thing with this entire fiasco. Danchenko stated that he spoke to an anonymous caller that was an individual with knowledge that Trump had a sordid connection with the Kremlin. Okay, this of course was a lie. The person who was feeding Danchenko, the Steele source, all of these lies was Dolan, a public relations executive that Bill and Hillary Clinton knew for like decades. Okay? You can't even make this up. Okay? You just can't make it up. So let's read this. Special counsel's team on Thursday morning called longtime Democratic operative Charles Dolan to the stand at the trial of Igor Danchenko. Danchenko is charged with 5 counts of lying to the Bureau, all of which he's pleaded not guilty to. So he'll be Harry Houdini if he's able to get out of all 5 counts. But see, it's inconceivable that all 5 counts John Durham will fail to get him on. But here, the trial, which is in its 3rd day in a federal courtroom in Alexandria, Virginia, is expected to be the final prosecution. Well, you know what? That's not necessarily the case. He gets a prosecution, he gets a conviction, and you have a Trump Republican House and Senate. Then it keeps going. Okay, if you vote Democrat, you're voting for poverty. That's not hyperbole. You're voting for high interest rates, high inflation, low economic growth, poverty increasing, because poverty increased to like 15%, according to Columbia University. And it was at 10.5%, a record low under Trump. Okay? But here, the government alleges that Dolan, a public relations executive, was a primary source of the information that Danchenko contributed to the Steele dossier, a collection of reports compiled by a former British spy containing now debunked salacious rumors and allegations about former President Donald Trump. Now, it's interesting how the media, the same media that says Trump lies so much. Zen, hello. Everybody here, Eric, Matt, everyone here, hello. DVK. Trump lies so much, but they actually funneled a compilation of lies into the United States government. They would never allow that. They would never allow that to take place with Democrats. But here, at one point during questioning, Dolan admitted to having lied to Danchenko in an email in the summer of 2016 about a GOP friend he claimed to have met with, and who he said provided him with information about former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort's resignation. Dolan told the jury that he had embellished the claim to Danchenko and that he actually obtained the information about Manafort's resignation from watching cable news. So, I mean, you can't make this up. All of these people, when caught, say, well, you know, he just made it up. They're just making things up. And then they're relaying things that they made up. It's unbelievable. The Federal Bureau of Investigation just needed a pretext. That's it. They just need a pretext. They need a reason. They don't need evidence to go after Trump. It's like when they say, oh, well, an informant told us. An informant could be anyone. Jane, hello. An informant can literally be a public relations executive for the Clintons. I thought I would just embellish a bit to make it seem like his contacts were good. So, Prosecutor Michael Kitely pointed out similarities in the information Dolan provided Danchenko in that 2016 email with information that ended up in a subsequent report from the dossier, dated 2 days after Dolan sent the email. Dolan said that he never provided additional insights to Danchenko and that he wasn't aware at the time why Danchenko was seeking the information from him. That's, of course, a lie. That is, he's lying on the witness stand almost certainly. But see, again, what Durham has to deal with is that these people are hiding behind plausible deniability at all times. Okay? And what took place was so outlandish. You have a whole bunch of people lying to an FBI that wanted to be lied to. You have a whole bunch of people who are operatives working for the Democratic Party, funneling lies and deceitful statements and nonsense and garbage. And you have bureaucrats who are more than willing to accept all of this. So Durham has a pretty big obstacle that he has to overcome. Okay? He's actually doing a pretty good job. Because the information we're finding out about all of this, like, for example, the information will be used for further investigations. See, ladies and gentlemen, also, I don't have faith that Durham at this point is going to take down all the people that's conspired against Trump. In fact, I know he won't. It's about tiny steps, baby steps. It's about little victories, because we're talking about a bureaucratic monstrosity that was leveled against Trump. It would be like if you're going to sue General Electric or IBM or Microsoft or Amazon, you're not going to take them down in like one day in court. It's the same thing with the United States government. The United States government went after Trump. There could be jail time in this. This trial could lead to jail time if he gets convicted of one at least one of the 5 counts. But here, let's continue. Dolan said he called Danchenko the day that this is hilarious. The day that BuzzFeed published the dossier to see if he knew where it came from. The witness said Danchenko claimed he wasn't sure where the dossier came from and would look into it and get back to him, but never did. See, this is hilarious. They're all lying. In cross-examination, defense attorney implied Dolan was being pressured by a special counsel to admit that the information in the dossier report came from him, to which Dolan denied, I guess. I agree, they were very similar. The information did come from him. Sears, and so what Durham is trying to prove here is that the Steele dossier was compiled not by a secret source that Danchenko had, but that Danchenko compiled the dossier with Dolan, a Clinton public relations executive. Mark Smith starting it off. Mark Smith. Hello, HA. Hello, loyalty is one of the greatest assets to have, and you have it for this country's politics, my friend. Thanks for staying on top of all this for so long. Thank you so much, Mark Smith. Greatly, greatly appreciated. I cannot do this without you, Mark, and everybody here. Your super chat is greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you, Mark. And I appreciate the kind words. I think it's pretty obvious, this is Jane from the country. Thank you so much, Jane. Greatly appreciated, Jane. I don't have $20 million in venture capital funding like the venture capitalist democratic socialists who just one of the many people on the left who run a very, very wonderful, highly ethical racket. But anyway, Jane, thank you so very much. Mark Smith, thank you so very, very much. Greatly appreciated. And I appreciate the kind words, Mark. Thank you. Jane, as always, thank you so much. So, what Durham did was he proved that Danchenko told the Federal Bureau of Investigation that he had compiled the dossier, or that he was given information about the dossier from sources that were legitimate, okay? He did not say that he was working with a Clinton public relations executive, and even the Federal Bureau of Investigation analyst said, had we known that, things would have been different. So you have a jury that's being given all of this information about dirty tricks. Now, Durham has to just tie the dirty tricks, the dirty, deceitful, shady behavior with the fact that a government agency was influenced by this behavior. It shouldn't be that difficult, okay? It shouldn't be that difficult. But here, so the defense, so hold on one second. The defense attorney also established the information Dolan had given to Danchenko by email was common knowledge. No, it wasn't common knowledge. Not everyone knew that Corey Lewandowski didn't like Manafort, and who cares if a lot of people knew? It wasn't common knowledge. And see, this is what they always fall back on. Well, if we lied about information that a lot of people believed. Dolan confirms to the jury that he didn't have any inside information. He didn't have any additional email or phone exchanges with Danchenko. So you never talked with Mr. Danchenko about anything that showed up in the dossier, correct? Correct. Well, the whole thing was fabricated anyway. The whole thing was fabricated anyway. And it really doesn't matter if um, if Dolan didn't write part of the dossier or any of the dossier along with Danchenko. The issue is that the source was a Clinton operative. The source was a Clinton operative, and it wasn't the source that they claimed. So the government also called third witness, FBI agent, a second bureau employee, to testify. The second bureau to testify after analyst Brian Auten took the stand during the first 2 days of trial. Helson was Danchenko's handling agent from 2017 to 2020, and the defendant served as a confidential human source. When the defendant was a confidential human source, he revealed that Danchenko was a paid informant. They paid this man taxpayer dollars. They paid this man taxpayer dollars to just funnel information that was inaccurate only to get Trump. So the FBI actually had years and years of this effort to get Trump based on a pretext, not based on any national security endeavor. This has nothing to do with national security. They would have already found out from National Security Agency or any all the other agencies if Trump actually had or Central Intelligence. There's like tens of billions of dollars every year in terms of an intelligence agency apparatus that we fund through taxpayer dollars. And so Dr. Debo Cherry, thank you. Love you. You're so proud of you. H.A. Goodman, you were my hair. Thank you so very much. So sweet of you. So kind of you. Thank you so much, Dr. Debo Cherry. Thank you so very, very much. Greatly, greatly appreciated. I appreciate your support and your kind words, and I hope all is well. And thank you so very much for your generosity. Thank you, Dr. Debo Cherry, for being here for, gosh, how many years? So many years. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Jane, Mark, Dr. Debo Cherry, thank you. My goodness, thank you so much. Ost! Big Daddy Goodbar! Prondis has come to low. I want to see your content spread and get the Goodbar paid. What do you think of the idea that Durham is there to smooth over and mitigate collateral damage to the government? It's possible. My goodness. Ost, thank you so very much. OST, my goodness. My goodness, everybody. Thank you. Dr. Debo Cherry, thank you. OST, Ost. I cannot thank you enough. Thank you, sir. OST, thank you. I think that is a possibility, although here's the thing. Ost, thank you again. Thank you so very, 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 very much. They have a special counsel to get the people who conspired against Trump who weren't government officials. Okay, so Ost, thank you so much for your support. We have a special counsel to get the people, to indict the people, to convict the people who weren't government officials. Now, Kevin Kleinsmith pled guilty, so that was an initial victory, okay? But what they should have done is just 18 U.S. Code 371, a very broad statute. And you can prove through people being inept and utilizing a dossier purchased by Trump's direct political rival, and an Alpha Bank story created by Trump's direct political rival, and an intelligence assessment from the ODNI and DHS that came with warranty disclaimers, okay, that they're high to moderate confident, but they're not certain. And so you could make a case that, well, they weren't even certain, but they went after one political rival and they sided with Democratic operatives. You had everyone from Peter Strzok saying, we'll stop Trump, to Dolan, who's a public relations executive for the Clintons. They would never allow this. But Ost, he didn't do that, and that would be under 18 U.S. Code 371. If you conspire to defraud the American people. Durham is not prosecuting the effort by government officials and by the effort by government officials. He's not prosecuting the effort by government officials and by operatives. He's only prosecuting primarily the effort by operatives. And that's the issue. That's the problem when media is like, oh, it was really embarrassing. He didn't find the plot. He absolutely did. Nothing in the indictments are even the evidence within the indictments aren't refuted by any of the defense counsels. They agree with all the indictments. So, Ost, thank you again. So, Duke Chronic, hello. Angela, hello. C is for classified. That is a Politico article. That's a Politico article. Ost, thank you again. Dr. Debo Cherry, thank you so very much. Mark and Jane, thank you. So, OST, Ost, that's the issue. The issue is that, is he just smoothing over? I mean, he better get a conviction. If he doesn't get a conviction, it'll be actually, I don't want to say humiliating for John Durham because he is a storied prosecutor. He actually put a bureau official, an FBI official in Boston in prison for actually committing crimes with a criminal network. So it's not his first rodeo, but if he can't get one conviction out of 5, it will be an embarrassment to say the least. Because Danchenko is a political operative, okay? He didn't end anyone's life or commit some heinous crime. Neither did Sussman, neither did Kleinsmith, but these are all political operatives, okay? They utilized the United States government against an American candidate and against an American president. It was not difficult to do. If you've worked for Ost and everybody here, and Dr. Debo Cherry, if you've worked for a corporation, for example, let's say you work for a corporation and you're in the sales department. Let's say you are in charge of giving out leads for salespeople to call and meet up with. Well, not all leads are the same. If you like somebody, you'll give them the best leads. Let's say you happen to be in charge in that department of giving people a list of qualified prospects to call. This is just an example. If you don't like somebody, you're not going to go ahead and give them leads that are ready to sign with the company or buy the product. If you like somebody, you might go ahead and give them the leads that'll make them money. It's just there's a million different ways in a bureaucracy. And yesterday, when Durham was, for example, Ost and everybody here, when Durham was cross-examining Auten, the FBI official, he was saying, wait a second, you didn't check? You didn't check to see if anything Danchenko was saying was accurate, or that if he actually called the Sergei Milian, the man that was supposed to have been the source, not Dolan, the public relations executive for the Clintons, um, Alton then said, "Well, look, I'm an analyst. I'm not an investigator. I don't know if it would have made a difference from the investigation standpoint. I'm not certain, but an analyst and an investigator work together. So they keep on hiding behind their post. Well, this is my job. My job is only to see, uh, is only to ask questions of Danchenko, and my job is not to be perfect. Excite, hello. My job is not to be perfect. That's how they get around this. Ost, thank you so very much again. Dr. Debo Cherry, thank you so very much. And Mark and Jane, everybody here, thank you so very much. So that's the issue, Ost. That's the issue. He has to prove that the Bureau was not only duped, but that the Bureau would not have investigated Trump. He's running into that hurdle yet again. So I'm being a bit cautious this live stream because you're talking about also a DC jury. It would be very difficult for me to believe that all 5 counts, especially if the jury is listening to all this deceptive. Like at some point, you have to have an honest enough jury to realize that they didn't like Trump. They didn't like him. The operatives despised him. The Bureau absolutely had not only animus, but extreme bias against him. And yes, the Inspector General listed an endless examples of bias, but he said there was no prosecutorial or documentary bias that influenced prosecutors. Well, you're never going to find that. So the IG, Michael Horowitz, gave a public relations win to media. In media, they don't look like, they just deal in sound bites. So they don't actually look at all the examples of bias against Trump. A bureaucracy is very easy to utilize against anyone, especially people that work at the bureaucracy. So, I mean, you look at what took place with Clinton. When I have a short on this channel, Trump cleared of crimes, by James Comey. It's at 25,000 views. James Comey says, well, no reasonable prosecutor would indict. Well, who is he to say? Who is he to say? I agree with you, and I think that something substantial will take place. Something substantial will absolutely take place, and it's called impeachment. Everybody, Mafeels! How many scoops of ice cream will you eat on live? Christopher Hitchens, I love Christopher Hitchens. Mafeels, how many scoops of ice cream will you eat on live stream when Trump wins in 2024? Oh my God. I tell you what, I could eat a large pizza. Scoops of ice cream, I could 24 scoops. I don't know, 4 or 5 huge ones. I don't know. Mafeels, thank you so very much. Yeah, Paul Ryan, Austin, Dr. Debo Cherry, Mafeels, and Jane and Mark. Paul Ryan came out today, Mafeels, and he said, "Oh well, everybody knows Trump's going to lose. He's unelectable." And it's like, Paul Ryan lost. Trump defeated Clinton. Paul Ryan was never president, will never be president ever in a million years. Not even in an alternate reality would he be president. Okay, he's president of hilarious workout pictures. That's what he's president of. And so he already lost. Okay. And Donald Trump defeated Clinton. He was president for 4 years. We had a fantastic economy, a fact, and we had a great foreign policy, another fact. And Paul Ryan says, "Oh, he's unelectable. So why are you going to go with him? Well, who do Republicans have? Chris Christie? Who? Mitt Romney? Paul Ryan? Who? Adam Kinzinger? Would you, if Adam Kinzinger or Liz Cheney were speaking at a library that could seat maybe 60 people or 50 people, would you go? If the tickets were $5, would you go? No. They couldn't even fill a small library. Okay? And it has nothing to do with like star status or, being a former celebrity or, be a billionaire. People like what Trump has to say because what he says is very important for the country. The people who are okay with the country being destroyed before our very eyes are the same people who just vote Democrat, vote blue no matter who, are okay with inflation going up. By the way, the market goes up 800 points today, and it's just going to go down 1,600 points like it always does. So, so, um, but Mafiels, thank you so very much. Ost, I think that, and Dr. Debo Cherry, everybody here, thank you so much. I think that, um, here the issue. Sears and the defense attorney and cross-exam emphasized Danchenko's cooperation with Helson, specifically the fact that he was being interviewed voluntarily and could have declined to answer. So what? Helson agreed that with Sears that there was only one instance in 3 to 4 years that odd or erratically. Yeah, but but see, here's the thing. Mr. Steele was willing to everyone around to make the dossier true. Sears said, but that's the problem. It wasn't true. That's the problem. It was a dossier that wasn't true. And so he was a source of something that wasn't true. So we found out, the jury is going to eventually have to come to terms with the fact that you have inept government officials who didn't verify anything, who offered $1 million to verify, a dossier used against Trump. It couldn't be verified. Nobody got $1 million of taxpayer money. Mafiels! TDS is so bad they probably think he still watches the Mafiels! Oh my goodness. I don't know what that means, but it's pretty bad. It is basically anything you can imagine. If there was, God forbid, a nuclear confrontation, well, we have that. If the ICBMs were above, I do my whole thing. I'll do it later today. If the ICBMs were above, God forbid, Mafiels, and everyone's 401k went to zero, they would still say at least Trump isn't tweeting. Norman Smith, thanks for the information analysis. H.A. Norman, thank you so very much. Wonderful profile pic, Norman. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you're watching, and thank you for your support. Ost, Mafiels, Dr. Debo Cherry, Norman, Mark, and Jane, thank you so very much. Thank you, Norman. Mafiels, it's beyond reason. It's beyond reason. But here, this is an interesting one. So, this is the transcript from day 2. We'll resume Special Counsel John Durham questions about Danchenko's purported 10 to 15-minute call with Belarusian businessman Sergei Milyan. Just to get back everybody on, this is Durham. Just to get everyone back on track. The first day you had said that he had sent 2 emails, no response, and then got an anonymous call from somebody speaking with a Russian accent. That is correct. This is how they just get away with all these lies. He got an anonymous call from somebody who claimed to be Sergei Milyan, which is the source that was actually not the source of the call. Okay, it was almost certainly Dolan or somebody else, a Clinton public relations executive, or somebody linked to the Democratic Party. So how they defend the lie is they say, well, it was an anonymous call. You just get an anonymous call. It must have been, some very important person close to Trump. Why did Milyan purportedly tell Danchenko to... What did Milian purportedly tell Danchenko during the call? According to Auten, he had talked about a relationship between the Trump campaign and the Kremlin and all that. Okay, so the Bureau doesn't need much to go after Trump. Doesn't need much to go after Trump. They just need a fake, phony, anonymous call, and then they're going after Trump. So this is like when you prosecute inept, when you prosecute government officials who are hiding by their lack of, like their inept, failed response to all of this, their irresponsible behavior. And then you have to prove the irresponsible behavior and the unethical behavior was deliberate. And so that's what he's trying to. He's kind of walking a fine line. Mafiels, thank you. Oz, thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. Dr. Debo Cherry, thank you. Mark and Jane, thank you. So, and Norman, thank you. Danchenko's request for a call in particular importance made after supposedly received 10 to 15 minutes, he thought. So this supports the call from Milian to Danchenko never happened. So there is no evidence of that call. That call was supposed to be one of the big revelations given from Danchenko to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. It almost certainly never happened. So the jury is going to hear that these very shady, deceitful things took place. And Durham has to prove that they influenced the investigation. That's the thing. Here's the thing. He should probably say, hey, look, the Bureau wanted to get Trump anyway. He should probably admit that to the jury. But they wouldn't have had the pretext to do so had they not accepted so many lies. So in that respect, if he just explains to the jury, hey, look, you might think even at this point, with all of these lies and these deceitful statements, you might think that, well, the Federal Bureau of Investigation wasn't really duped. We don't know if they were truly duped, you might think. But the reality is, even if you believe they were after Trump, even if you believe that they thought it was national security, even if you believe that they should have been after Trump more, you don't like Trump. The reality is that the lies were material and pertinent and influenced the Federal Bureau of Investigation to go and investigate Trump, initially and then longer than they would have had they not received all of these lies. And so that's where you get a conviction. Not that I'm telling him how to do his job, but Durham then introduced an email from Milian to an acquaintance sent 5 days after Danchenko reached out. Here is in full. Dmitry, on Friday, I'm returning from Asia. An email came from Igor. Who is that? What sort of person, Sergey? So there you go. So Milian has an email. So this is the man who's supposed to have been this huge source that wasn't even a source. And this is after the alleged phone call where Milian calls and he says, hey, you know what? Who is this person? Who is Danchenko? And so you know now that the call never took place. So he lied about the call. That is a huge issue. Okay? Again, he's going to have to... Durham then used the email to focus on the Bureau's lack of effort to corroborate. And then you get this. Analyst Auten admitted he hadn't even seen the email until recently, and the Bureau didn't even check Milian's travel records during that period. So, now with regards to the email to Milian, okay, do you have the occasion of seeing this prior to the The trial, no. With regard to Milian saying that on Friday he's returning to Asia, do you know whether you or other members of the group had ever retrieved Milian's travel records to see if he was even in the United States on or in the latter part of July 2016? I don't recall that. Would it surprise you to learn that he wasn't even in the United States? I mean, and then on, I mean, he says he's in Asia. So there you go. Continuing with the theme of purposeful FBI incompetence. Here, this is an important issue. Purposeful FBI incompetence, and a big thank you to Technofog. Okay, Technofog is on Twitter. I don't have Twitter. I don't have Facebook, but he's a fantastic lawyer. The Washington Post called him the mysterious Technofog. But he's a fantastic lawyer on Twitter. I don't have Twitter. I don't have Facebook since like 2018. But every once in a while, you get really, really great profiles. And he is one of the foremost people, if not the foremost person on the Durham probe, more than me. He's more on top of it than I am. So Technofog is awesome. Subscribe to his newsletter, which is what I'm reading right now. So, and he has to get the transcripts, ladies and gentlemen, the court transcripts. Ost, thank you again. Dr. Debo Cherry, thank you. Muffiels! The left has Trump on the brain more than even MAGA. Exactly. I agree with you. After they say he can't recover, yet he does. Exactly, Muffiels. And you know what it is? And you know what it is, Muffiels? It is become a religious experience for them. They most of them have jettisoned any belief in God. Their idea of a spirituality is disliking Trump. It is a spiritual. Mafeels, Ost, everybody here, Dr. Debo Cherry, Ost, and Dr. Debo Cherry, everybody here. Thank you so very much for your generosity, Mafeels, and everyone, and Mark and Jane and Norman. Do not, during Thanksgiving or Christmas or New Year's, do not, under any circumstances, I don't care if you're in a table with 10 Trump supporters and one morally superior, highly educated liberal, don't bring up Trump. Don't even defend him. Don't get involved. Just when it's time to vote, vote for a great economy and a great foreign policy, which would be vote Trump Republican, not Democrat. You're voting for poverty if you're voting Democrat. I mean, it's not hyperbole. I'm actually understating that. You look at what's taking place. Look at the poverty increasing. Look at the foreign policy catastrophe. Okay, all the sacred cows they worship, all of these fabricated, phony idols, in terms of this twisted notion of morality they have. Everything is like all of their nonsense is justified. Well, you know, we had to censor the New York Post and suspend them. Yeah, you know. We couldn't have Trump win. It's like, well, if the fact that you would be worried about Trump winning because your corruption would lead people to Trump is a big problem. That's the antithesis of democracy. Democracy cannot exist if you're suppressing any information about your own corruption. And inherent to silencing any dissent or any journalism on your own corruption is, an active effort to undermine democracy. Democracy entails a free flow of ideas. When they say information that misinforms, okay, Mafeels and everybody here, when they say, and Austin and Dr. Debo Cherry, when they say this information misinforms people, okay, what is it to misinform? Why don't they just say the information is categorically false? Why don't they say the information is false? Why don't they say the information is fabricated? Why don't they say the information is nowhere to be found, it's made up. They can't say that because to misinform someone in this day and age means to offer a rebuttal, to offer a rebuttal they don't like, a rebuttal that Democrats or experts or a consensus of liberal experts disagree with. So when they make claims that are proven to be false, and when they change their mind and flip-flop on a bunch of things, and when they make categorical promises and claims and statements, and then months later we find out that their statements were inaccurate, that's not misinforming anyone. That is making sure that you listen to them at all times because they have access to all the information. What they are doing is they're not good at actually offering a rebuttal uh, to their own claims or argument, and they're not good at forming an argument. They don't like actual discourse because they generally lose. It's not a winning proposition to say, oh, Biden's foreign policy is very successful. Look at Europe. You're not going to win any arguments by saying Biden's economy is a fantastic economy. So you get information that misinforms. You're not going to win any arguments also by saying, well, the prevailing mentality among experts really was always right. And you're also not going to win any arguments when it comes to a cost-benefit analysis or a risk-reward analysis or evaluation by an individual. These things are subjective. These things are so what they want to do is they want to enforce, they want to impose objectivity on every topic possible, objectivity that correlates directly with their political ambitions. But they want to do so by erasing any subjective or any rebuttal at all. They don't like an actual rebuttal. That's why they wanted a ministry of truth. These are the people. These people come right out of a George Orwell book, 1984. And so there is no such thing as information that misinforms. It's either an argument that makes sense that you can defend or an argument that you can't defend. And Democrats have arguments they can't defend. Medicare for all, they won't even vote on it. The economy, well, there's actually more poor people now. Poverty has increased. Foreign policy, well, we're on the brink of annihilation. What else are they good at? I mean, if Trump had their track record, he'd already been in prison. Kickbacks and bribery and graft with Hunter and Joe, and Joe's going to get impeached, people. But here, ladies and gentlemen, so it's really interesting. It's like, it is so easy to refute any of the absurd claims they make, but don't ever do so, because what happens is they get angry. They'll get very, very angry very quickly. If you're in Thanksgiving and you say anything good about Trump and you're with a morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrat, they'll throw the turkey at you. I mean, you'll have to duck. The turkey leg will be thrown at you. Okay, you don't need that. You don't need that. Osk, thank you again. Dr. G. Cherry, thank you. So, and this is the important, this is one of the important, Auten and the FBI, however, chose to remain ignorant and never obtain these communications. This is Durham. Yesterday, you told the jury in a meeting with Mr. Janchenko there were two things that you were interested in, correct? One of them was corroboration of the information, correct? And the second was the source of the information, correct? Would those have been significant to you? Yes. Why would they have been significant to you? It would help better understand exactly how the course of information went from the information that was in the reports themselves. would it have been of any import to you to know in evaluating whether an anonymous call had come in to see the content of the emails from the July 21st and then August 18th concerning Mr. Millian not having responded? Yes, I mean, all of those emails would be very helpful to understand the full extent of communication between parties. Because if the written defendant, and then, okay, because of the written record in defendant's own words was that he never responded, wouldn't that have been assistance in evaluating his reliability? It would be helpful, yes. Now, here's where the Bureau official hides behind bureaucracy here. Durham continued pressing on about analyzing these communications because the Bureau officials didn't do any due diligence. They just said, "Oh, you made claims against Trump? No problem. Just send them to us." Tricky Vicky! You got that right, HA. Everything they touch turns into a sticky pile. Exactly. They're like the anti-Midas, the opposite of Midas. Thank you so very much, Tricky Vicky. Thank you. It's like everything they do, the opposite takes place, or everything they want, it just turns to you know what. Tricky Vicky, thank you so very, very, very much. Greatly appreciated. And here you have, would it have the capacity or ability to have influenced steps taken or not taken by the FBI? Possibly, yes. See, and then he possibly. Well, again, I'm an analyst, not an investigator. So in this sense, it would be very helpful from an analytical side to understand the full extent of communications between parties. See, I'm an analyst. Direct examination moved to On's knowledge of Charles Dolan. During Otten's overseas interview with Christopher Steele in October 2016, Dolan's name came up. I mean, you have these people flying, taxpayer dollars flying to London. It's like, you already know it's made up. You know these things are made up. But they're like, oh, go get Trump. It's this big elaborate scheme. And you tell a jury yesterday that's separate and apart from sources. You have gotten 3 names from Mr. Steele as to persons who might be knowledgeable. Yes. Was Charles Dolan one of those names? Yes. Okay. They didn't know that he was an operative. Charles Dolan's name was not brought up? No. So, and then a series of emails where Dolan and Danchenko were presented to Otten. These emails showed Danchenko begging Dolan for information on the Trump campaign and Dolan obliging. And so you have a situation, ladies and gentlemen, where Muffiels, thank you so very much. As Aldous Huxley said, so long as men worship the Caesars and Napoleons will duly rise and make them miserable. Stop worshiping politicians. Exactly. Dr. Debo Cherry, thank you so much for becoming a member. So kind of you. Thank you. Dr. Muffiels, thank you so much also for your generosity. That's the thing, Muffiels. Here, the thing with, Christopher Hitchens, I love Christopher Hitchens. Even though he was an anti-theist and I believe in God and I if you're an atheist, if you're an agnostic, fine, but don't replace religion with politics. Don't make politics your religion. And that's what these people do. I mean, you're talking about 30-year friendships that they disown. For what purpose? Because the cognitive dissonance won't allow them to realize that Hunter and Joe almost certainly sold out the country for bribery and graft just to enrich themselves. And if you don't believe that, there's still kickbacks took place. 10% for the big man. Let's say, he didn't sell out the country, but he did take money. Okay, let's say imagine if Trump had done that. Muffiels, part of the religious, the they make this into this dogma. They make politics into like this tribalistic, you know, they turned it into tribalism and dogma and this religious pursuit. This religious pursuit. Jane, thank you so much. It is not religion. I don't care if you vote for Biden or if you vote for a bad economy or if you vote for a terrible foreign policy. That you do yourself. It doesn't offend me. It's not immoral to me. I mean, all the harm that was attributed that they predicted Trump would do to this country is being done under Biden. Mashed potato brains Joe. Hey, where's the Abe Lincoln Act, man? I mean, he's saying hello to deceased politicians. Hey, man. Hey, where's cornflakes? 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 Hey, corn pop, man. Hey, what happened to Honest Abe, man? He said he'd be here. He went to a play, man. He didn't like the play. What happened? Come on, man. The MAGA Republicans were there. Did MAGA Republicans do something to Abe Lincoln, man? How come I can't say hello to Honest Abe? Oh, okay, man. EVK, hello. Florida Man Bear, hello. So, if you want to vote for somebody one fry short of a Happy Meal, go ahead. What do I care? But don't pretend that Trump is the more like esoteric and philosophical they get. Oh yeah, democracy is at stake. It's like, well, what part of inflation at 9%, 8 to 9%, and interest rates going up, and stock market crashing, and economy and layoffs, and what part of that is good for you? Oh, man. Like they have to view things, Mafiels. They view things in terms of a religious, like, holy battle. That's why the cognitive dissonance, it's part of it's when they disown friends and family, they get a physical reaction to Trump. It's a visceral and physical reaction. It's not rational. Imagine despising somebody who presided over a great economy and a great foreign policy so much you would rather have the opposite. Osk, thank you again. And Dr. Debo Cherry, thank you so much. Mafiel's great point. And Mafiel's, we're going to have impeachment. Impeachment is coming up. Kenneth, God bless you. Thank you for your service to this country. Kenneth King, thank you. God bless you. Imagine you have like 30, you have people disowning friends and family because they are so convinced that Trump is the embodiment of all evil, but at the same time they haven't found anything to indict him on. It would take 2 seconds to indict Hunter if you had if there was like you have the Federal Bureau of Investigation accepting fabricated and phony dossiers. Meanwhile, the same agency cannot find anything to indict Hunter on, and you have emails and suspicious financial transactions, and there you go. And of course, they're hiding one, going after the other. I mean, it's easy to use bureaucracy against your political rivals, and it's easy to use bureaucracy to protect the people on your side. Not that difficult. The problem is that Democrats today are as corrupt, or probably as corrupt, or more corrupt in many ways, or let's say just as corrupt as the Republicans were 20 years ago. The Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld Republicans were the epicenter of corruption 20 years ago. Now you have the Joe and Bill and Hillary and Hunter and the Democratic Party being the epicenter of corruption here. Tulsi Gabbard is 100% right. She's 100% right. These people would rather have the end of the world than have Trump. I mean, it's pretty unbelievable. Ost, thank you again. Mafiels, thank you so much, Mafiels. Thank you. Mafiels! Why is the left so invested emotionally and otherwise in Eastern Europe nonsense? They won't let me type that. um, they have been traumatized. They have been traumatized by 2016. They were traumatized by 2016, Mafiels. So, because they were traumatized by 2016, they have been convinced. They have been convinced that another country installed Trump. They truly believe that another country installed Trump. And they actually believe this, most of them still, even though there's no evidence of that. And even though Mueller said the evidence was insufficient, meaning there was no evidence, they have been traumatized. They have created a new Cold War in their minds. They think that they have replaced Saddam with Vladimir, and they blame the Kremlin for installing Trump, and Trump is their greatest nightmare. Here's a man who put the country first. They put multinational organizations first. They put an alliance first. It's very bizarre. Like, you could say, well, there's two ways of looking at Democratic Party foreign policy. One is they're pretending to care about the alliance in Europe because they have their own foreign policy that's good for the country. But that's obviously not the case. It's not good for the country. And so, like, how does it benefit the United States of America to always shape our foreign policy in a way that suits an alliance in Europe that we prop up? I don't understand that. It's a Cold War relic. And if you listen, Noam Chomsky is not right about everything, but he's right about a lot. And he's basically says this is a Cold War relic. You can look at, like, they if they can look at the world and say, okay, that country helped prop up in 2016, interfered, Clinton lost, and now that country is trying to dominate all of Europe, which is not true. They become obsessed. It's the same the past 2 years. You saw that. I mean, we can't talk about, here's the thing. Because of social media algorithms, we can't talk about the obsessions of Democrats. You know, I mean, we can and we can't. Because if you actually expose the obsessions of Democrats, it's information that misinforms. Even though they're on tape contradicting themselves all the time. On every topic. So Mafiels, it's you have to understand also, Mafiels, Christopher Hitchens was an anti-theist, but his spirit was so rich with knowledge and beauty and literature and charm and wit and philosophy, and he epitomized, all the beautiful parts of all the beautiful aspects of a humanist viewpoint of the world, where he didn't care about being offended. He just wanted truth. What he loved was truth, and if the truth went left or right, he didn't care. See, that filled his spirit or soul or his heart with joy. What fills the average morally superior liberal Democrat's heart with joy is just despising Trump. It doesn't even have to be truthful. You don't even have to. Trump never worked with the Kremlin. But if you say that, you have insulted their God. Their God is Clapper, Brennan, Comey, Strzok, McCabe, CNN, the friends that they have that have disowned other friends, acceptance, groupthink. They can't think for themselves. Imagine if you're a morally superior liberal Democrat and you wake up one day and you say, you know, this is all nonsense. Trump ain't that bad. You have lost all your friends. You have lost everyone on social media. You will be shunned, excommunicated. You've committed blasphemy and heresy, and you'll be banished. You will lose everything. The interesting thing is like, you know, in my situation, the people who have stuck by me, who didn't care that I support Trump on YouTube, those are true friends and true family and true beautiful, like, those people have integrity. Those people have a backbone. Those people don't adhere to groupthink. Those people haven't replaced, a religion or a view of life or atheism or whatever with politics. The people who have disowned me, like they've disowned you, do so because groupthink is very important to them. They have to follow the herd. They have to be part of um, the zeitgeist. They have to be part. And these are the same types of people who would do you in also, very likely, in any era in human history. Okay, the people who claim to be, oh, I would be against the 1930s and 1940s authoritarians if I'm against Trump. Oh, no, you wouldn't. You would be the most virulent and the most obsessed person within that country, going after, demographic groups that were annihilated. You would be the most virulent, because the people who devote their lives to opposing Trump just to oppose him, not because they really disagree with his policies, those are the same people who, in an alternate world, a different time in world history, would have been on the wrong side of history again. You have to be able to think critically and say, nah, I'm not going to. That's why it took me a little bit. I said, well, you know what? I'm going to probably lose friends if I support Trump. But I had to be me. What am I supposed to do? Go and choose the Lincoln Project foreign policy that Bernie Sanders uh, also. Bernie Sanders and the Lincoln Project are on the same political side. That's a fact. They both vote Democrat. Think about that. Think about that. Think about that. The Lincoln Project and Bernie Sanders are the same political side. Think about that. You vote Democrat, you're basically like, it's like this mindless cult that you're just voting because CNN and MSNBC and the Washington Post and the New York Times are telling you that Trump and the Kremlin conspired to hack the DNC to inform the country that Bernie Sanders was cheated, thus swinging 2016 to Orange Man. And it's like nothing could be further from the truth. You don't see Trump supporters disowning friends and family for voting Biden. You don't see Trump supporters going after people who wear Biden hats and flipping them off. First of all, you'll never see a mashed potato brains Joe hat ever in your life. Hey, that's interesting. But it's the Democratic Party is like, oh yeah, I flipped the hat off of somebody. Oh my goodness. And it's like, you look, the left actually has more poverty now than at any point with Trump. And in 2019, we had the lowest on record poverty. What is the point of being on the left? What's the point of being a socialist or a morally superior liberal when you have more poverty than you did with Trump, and you have more militarism and a greater foreign policy catastrophe than anything that happened under Trump? What's the point? You keep talking about, imperialism and this and that, and it's like, well, what do you think's happening in Europe right now? Do you think possible global annihilation is good? We didn't have that with Trump. So who's the authoritarian, Joe or Trump? And then they say, well, we care about poor people and social safety nets. Like, well, you caused the poverty. We have more poverty now, not less, more. Okay, 15% poverty is like, I think Sesame Street had like the count, like, 15% is a greater number than 10. 10.5% poverty under Trump, and close to 15% poverty under Biden. And so you have a situation where, like, almost everything was better under Trump, including, like, you look at what, like, all the critiques they had of Trump. It's worse. It's worse under Joe Biden. That's why you'll get the House and Senate going Trump Republican will be absolutely fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm running out of steam right now. The secret spaceship. You, sir, are beacon of truth. Thanks, brother. The secret spaceship. Thank you so very much. Greatly, greatly appreciated, sir. I don't have $20 million in venture capital funding like the wonderful Democratic socialists who won't even vote for Medicare for all. That's another thing, the secret spaceship. Thank you so very much. The secret spaceship, thank you so much. Is one of the great names in this channel's history. You know how much money they made from promising Medicare for all? What a racket. You know how much money they made? Medicare for all, man. Medicare for all. Medicare for all. Can you vote on it? And that's why they got upset with Jimmy Dore. I have a great deal of respect for Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore said, hey, vote on it in the House. You have the House of Representatives. Why didn't they vote for Medicare for all in the House of Representatives? Because it's a racket. Because it's a racket. It's a racket. They don't even believe in any of the policies. They just all they do is the secret spaceship derive financial or some kind of bizarre virtue from condemning and preaching and giving sermons and judging. But in terms of like what they actually accomplish, it's nothing. Joe Valdez, deep in the tunnels of the swamp, DC. Joel Valdez, thank you, Joel, as always. Great seeing you again, Joel. I will have a live stream, ladies and gentlemen, at around 10 p.m. Pacific, about 10:15. About 10:15 Pacific this evening, people. About 10:15 Pacific this evening, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, to my super chat, Ost and Dr. Debo Cherry and everybody here, I cannot thank you enough. I cannot thank you enough, everybody. And it's the secret spaceship, everyone here, thank you so much. Thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate your support. And just thank you so much. Thank you. H-Toss, everybody here. Jane, Mark, everyone here, Norman. Thank you so much, everybody. Secret Spaceship Ost, thank you again. Dr. Debo Cherry, thank you. So sweet of you. Exactly, Tammy, thank you. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you tonight. I'll see you tonight at 10. I'll see you tonight at 10:20 or so. Be here at 10:20, everybody. Thanks, everybody. Ost, Dr. Debo Cherry, everybody here. Thank you so much.